It's Thursday, February 20th. Welcome to the morning show. I'm Bolubi. Let's get to the weather. Today, there is a chance of snow, mainly after 9 a.m. Cloudy with a high near 28 degrees. Northwest wind, 9 to 18 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 33 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation is 40%. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a low around 20 degrees. Northwest wind 16 to 18 miles per hour with gusts as high as 34 miles per hour. And Friday will be sunny with a high near 36 degrees, breezy with northwest wind 16 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 32 miles per hour. And on to some events. These are events coming up in Cecil County in the next few days. This weekend, saddle up for a rootin' tootin' good time as Rodgers and Hammerstein's classic musical Oklahoma rides onto the Milburn Stone Theater stage. Set against the backdrop of the American frontier, this beloved tale spins the story of love, rivalry, and the pioneering spirit that shaped a nation. Check milburnstone.com for times. This Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m., sip and stroll through the historic Chesapeake City while you sample from over 20 wine, beer, and spirit vendors. You will receive a commemorative wine glass to enjoy unlimited samples with the purchase of your ticket. It will be a magical day with a festive atmosphere as Bohemia Avenue is turned into a winter festival. Food will be available to purchase from many vendors. Tickets are $49.87. And on to the news. As at a Senate hearing in Annapolis yesterday, lawmakers discussed proposed amendments to the blueprint for Maryland's future, a multi-billion-dollar education reform plan. Lawmakers debated Senate Bill 429 and House Bill 504, which proposed delaying some aspects of the blueprint due to a projected $3 billion budget shortfall. The governor's administration defended the changes as necessary for financial sustainability, particularly delaying collaborative time for teachers and freezing funding for community schools. Critics, including many educators and lawmakers, opposed the bills, arguing that they would hinder progress in education, especially in high poverty areas. And for our feature today we welcome Bill Barron, a Port Deposit resident who takes a big interest in his town and its history. We've asked Bill to come on the morning show to tell us about the Snow Hill Historical Site, which was a free Black community established in the Port Deposit area by the mid-1800s. Good morning, Bill, and welcome.
Good morning, Bolu. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So can you tell us a few things about the Snow Hill site, as where it was or where it is, and when did people live there and how big it is?
Sure. Back in the 1850s, Port Deposit was a vibrant town. There was lots of commerce, proximity to the Susquehanna River. Really made it an important area. It was one of the seventh largest cities in the state of Maryland at the time. And it had a very diverse and workforce. And, I think what is most interesting is that in the 1850 census, over 21% of the town's population is free Black Americans. And these free Black Americans lived in Snow Hill. It was an example of where these free Black merchants and laborers established a thriving community in as early as 1847, and it lasted for over 50 years. And Snow Hill is located at the south end of town, and you are still able to see some of the remains of where Snow Hill was. You can see the foundations of the buildings as you jog up Route 222. You can look to the north side of the bluff, and you will see foundations of what was the Snow Hill community. And it consisted of 46 lots It was on about 20 acres of land overall. And there were 20 homes that were built on these lots. And it was also the site for the Bethel AME Church, which was founded there in 1848. And that's the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church that was there and developed. The area was called Bethel Hollow. It was Stillhouse Hollow and Cedar Street as well. But you can find it today on many of the old Cecil County maps. It's on the 1858 Martinet map. You can see it along the bluff. It's on the 1877 Cecil County Atlas, and you're also able to see it. We've also got land records from 1858 that detail the survey of the land as it was owned by essentially white-owned residents that leased to the free black community and did this under 99-year renewable leases.
Awesome. And is there a record of how the community interacted with Port Deposit?
There's difficult to find a lot of the history. I work with the Port Deposit Heritage Corporation, and we don't have really detailed records. But what we do have shows that there was a thriving free Black American community at the time. And you got to understand, this is, in 1850, this is 11 years before the conflict of the Civil War. And, enslavement is still in the United States. This is before the Emancipation Proclamation is made. But here in Port Deposit, the free black merchants, Thomas Ringgold was one of them, had established buildings and stores here in Port Deposit that were open to everybody, and they certainly were an integral part of the community.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And do you know the status of the plans for the Port of Deposit State Park that would include Snow Hill?
So, Port of Deposit State Park was introduced in a bill, I believe it was 3 years ago, as part of the Great Outdoors Act of Maryland, and it was put in, unfortunately, at kind of the ninth hour. Port Deposit didn't have a lot of input into how this bill was put together, but basically it didn't move well through the House, or I'm sorry, through or make progress on the bill, and Senator Gallion has introduced legislation now. It's emergency legislation for Senate Bill 477 and also a companion bill, which is House Bill in the House, House Bill 1184, that will really reduce the focus of the Port of Deposit State Park to the 20 acres of land that is the Snow Hill archaeological site. And I think this is a really great thing, because it will allow the state of Maryland to focus on telling the free black experience here in Port Deposit. And it will, certainly with the fiscal condition, and you just said, there was a $3 billion shortfall. This really helps, I feel, bring this to a reality. And so the Port Deposit Heritage Corporation, along with many others in the town of Port Deposit and Port Deposit itself, are very much in favor of the Senate bill that was presented by Mr. Gallion and will be in the House. Actually, this week, I'll go to Annapolis to testify on behalf of this bill.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And for people who want to know more about Port Deposit history, what would you suggest?
I would tell you to come to Port Deposit. We are a historic district. There's a lot of great history here, a lot of great, entertainment, food, dining, but you can really learn a lot about Port Deposit by coming to the Pawpaw Museum. It is part of the Port Deposit Heritage Corporation, and they curate the Port Deposit, or I'm sorry, the Pawpaw Museum. And we can give you some great information about the history of Port Deposit. We open in May, and we're open May through October, the second and fourth Sundays of the month from 1 to 5. And we would be here to answer your questions about Port Deposit.
Awesome. It sounds like a great place to go. Well, thank you, Bill, so much for joining us today and sharing about Snow Hill and Port Deposit.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And for people watching, thank you for watching Cecil TV. If you think programs like this are valuable, please consider becoming a donor to Cecil Public Media. Please like us on Facebook and subscribe to the Cecil TV YouTube channel. Have a great day.